Welcome to the Crafty Boys, the biggest podcast on the planet, and we are live! Welcome, everybody, and let's drink beer. So, how's it going, boys?
I'm well, thank you. How are you guys?
So I'm exhausted.
I was gonna say you're looking a little tired there, man.
Yeah. No, it's been a long week. I've been stretching my limits again, and it's super cool to do new things all the time. But yeah, it's been a while since like every day it's sort of like, okay, and now here's this other new task that I've not done before, and now I need to do well because I'm doing it on somebody else's behalf. Right.
Okay.
So that's
cool.
Basically, you are at the end of your rope and you're about to go crazy and murder everybody.
Yes, and on top of that, I am doing Dry July, which is why this evening I am drinking Fever Tree Mediterranean tonic water.
Oh.
Sorry. Wait. Hang on. So
we are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Please stand. I honestly have never ever imagined ever that this would happen. The apocalypse has begun. Locke said the words dry.
It's not the first time I've done this. God, give your liver a break once in a while. It's not like I'm not probably, gonna have a pretty exciting August, but every once in a while, it's good to,
good to cleanse.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? I'm all for it. It's great. What's her name, Locke?
No. Sadly, that's not the reason. Okay. Because I could use one. But no, I just it's one of those things. I've had enough old friends check out recently that it's sort of like, I'm getting to that age, like.
We all are.
We ain't in our 20s anymore, guys.
Yeah. That's it. This is now called the Crafty Tonic Boys, where we just drink tonic water.
Next week,
and that's it. That's the whole thing.
Next week, we're eating stewed prunes.
I can figure out how I can get this thing open. That's
Sorry, I didn't realize that you were still struggling to get the thing open. Holy hell!
Yeah.
This
is not commercial pop. This is for like people who mix drinks and that kind of thing. Hold on.
Right.
Okay. What tonic water are you drinking, Alan?
I'm not drinking tonic water. I am drinking a beer. So, Shane, right. I have the same brewery as you, but not the same brew because I couldn't find it. So, what's yours called?
My beer is the Backcountry. It's not a man purse. It's called a satchel. Indiana Jones wears one. Pale ale. So this beer, I picked it up because I wanted to be able to drink it after having seen the latest Indiana Jones film. I have now done that. And I'm now going to drink this beer.
All right. Now, I also, from Backcountry, which is from Squamish, BC, is the Might As Well Go For a Soda Cherry Cola Sour, which sounds like they've maybe bitten off a little bit more than they can chew with this. I mean, it's a sour, it's cherry, okay, but it's also got cola, apparently. I have a feeling this is going to be one of those things that doesn't taste like it's advertised to, but we'll open it up and have a look. Locke, tell us about your tonic water. Like how?
Well, so this is the Mediterranean tonic water. Now, they also have an Indian tonic water. And this, I would say the quinine flavor is less pronounced. This is a bit, it's a little bit mellower, you would say.
Okay. I'm trying to think of how that is. How is that even possible to have mellow tonic water?
Well, okay, so you know the bitter edge that you get in tonic water.
A little bit, yeah. Although it's never been really pronounced in memory, anyway.
Yeah, so that's traditionally that's from the quinine. Originally, tonic water was quinine syrup,
right.
Which was ultimately provided to prevent malaria, and so the dosage of quinine was thought to initially okay, we'll try sweetening it, so it was sort of a syrupy thing, so bitter and syrupy. And so mixing that with fizz and, of course, gin and tonic.
Right.
But yeah, this is less. I would say it has less of that bitterness that you get from the quinine, the tonic, and it's sort of got a sort of a rounder sort of flavor.
Right.
Okay.
So it's the sort of thing. Oh yeah.
Quaffable.
What's the IBU rating on that?
Yeah, right. We don't really have one of those, do we?
Well, here's mine. The it's called a satchel, not a man purse.
So what's the actual type of beer that it is?
This is a pale ale, but look at that color.
Wow.
Like that color is not malt color that I'm familiar with, but it's very much a I don't know, it's kind of got a very fruity kind of. It's very fruity. That's not what I was expecting at all. But all right, here we go. That's kind of a nothing burger. But I mean, it's definitely a summery beer. That's the big thing that I'll say about it right now, is that it feels like they created this to take camping or go to the beach or whatever, but definitely not what I was expecting at all. But that doesn't make it bad. I'm just saying the head is amazing. This is maintaining a lot attached to the glass hardcore. But overall, I gotta say, I've never been unhappy, I don't think, with backcountry product.
No.
5% alcohol by volume, and it is an IBU, an international beer unit rating of 25. 25? Yes, 25.
That seems a little bit high for a pale ale, does it not?
Say that again. Sorry.
That seems a little bit high for just a pale ale.
Yeah, well, there's nothing I can. Nothing here is really screaming pale ale to me. So this beer is a bit of a mystery.
It almost kind of comes across as like a hazy pale ale.
I would say yes. Does it actually have anything on the can here? Hang on, let's see. You guys ready to let the dogs out? Easy there, Tiger. Some guys can't handle Simcoe hops. But we get a lot of compliments on this Indiana Jones drinks. What? Apparently Indiana Jones drinks this beer.
I highly
whatever, okay.
I call shenanigans on that.
I don't ever picture Indiana Jones as a drinker of beer of any kind, because I picture him more as an individual who is a whiskey drinker, a bourbon drinker, maybe a little sherry.
What was he drinking after he thought Marion died?
Oh, probably whiskey or something.
Yeah, I would think that would be Scotch, but
Scotch,
could
yes,
be bourbon.
Scotch. Sorry, probably
Yeah.
Scotch. I mean, it was a desert after all. But I have seen the latest film, or sorry, the final film,
Well, just a
whatever
second
you want to
before
call
you go
it.
there. Before you go
Yes.
there, let me talk about this.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, so this thing has me completely shocked. I thought that this beer was they were biting off more than they could chew. They were overreaching. A cherry cola sour. There's no way that it could taste like cherry cola. Never, ever.
Right.
As soon as I started pouring it, holy hell, that's what I smelled was cherry cola. This is it here in the glass. There isn't much head to speak of.
It's also very translucent. That's not hazy at all in any way.
It is. It's filtered. Cherries and cola gummies were just some of the ingredients used to make this flash from the past. It'll have you screaming for a liter of cola. Meow. It's got water, malt.
Did you just say meow?
Meow. Malt, hops, yeast, cherry puree, cola bottle candy flavor. And holy hell, this tastes like a cherry cola that's been sourified. In fact, I think the sourness kind of takes away from it a little bit. But I wonder if it's just, it's not possible to make this beer without the sour quality to it, is what I'm wondering. Holy hell, this is really good. It is really tasty.
How much does it cost?
I want to say this one was about between $4 and $5 for a can.
Okay.
Sorry.
I've seen people attempt similar types of recipe in Ontario, and they've been like in the $6 range. So interesting that in every case, this is certainly the higher end of what you would spend on a beer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It comes in at 6%.
Do you think it was worth it?
Yes, I think it is to try it. I think it absolutely is. I think if you like cherry cola and you like beer, you'd probably dig this.
Would you buy 6 of them?
We could only buy them in single cans. I assume on the mainland they're available in 4-packs. They're in tall cans.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It sounds more like a 4-pack kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's good. Obviously, it's a short run kind of thing. Get it now or don't get it at all, kind of thing. But if you dig cherry cola and beer, I recommend picking this up while you can.
Might as well go for soda.
From backcountry.
And I like the fact that, I don't know. What do you guys think? I think that song has aged very well, given what I thought of it back when it came out. When that came out, I was like, God, I can't stand this. This is so
it was almost like we thought of it as almost like Christian rock.
Sorry?
We almost thought of it as like Christian rock, right?
Yeah, right. Like it was like given everything else that was going on at the time, it's like this is just sort of like lame, But how well has that song aged? My God, I heard that the other day, and it was like, oh yeah, this is on point.
Yep.
Better than slander, better than lies.
To be clear, I've always loved the sound of that song. Kim Mitchell, Go for a Soda. The message was kind of like, it was kind of lame. It seemed very Canadian, the message, But yeah, I mean, I guess it's it was maybe a little bit ahead of its time.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah.
Now I have to go on record to say that patio lanterns. For a long time, I thought it was about an Irish girl named Patty O'Lanterns.
Wow, that's
Seriously.
awesome. That is
I did.
awesome.
I did.
It's like that
patio
song.
lanterns.
Oh,
Patio lanterns.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
All right, back to Indiana Jones. Shane, you saw it. Don't give away.
Well, actually, I did see it the other day.
Are you saying that you have not seen it, Alan?
I have not.
Okay.
Locke, have you seen it?
Yeah.
All right, Locke, your one-word summary of that movie. Go. By the way,
respectful.
Respectful.
Okay.
Cheers from Nelson Island from our brewmaster Julian. I would say my one-word summary would be tempered. That what happened in 2008, they were very aware of. And they wanted to hit some decent. They wanted to hit the legacy sequel tropes without being too obvious. And at the end of it, I have to say I give it a thumbs up because did we need another one? Not really. Did we need the fourth one? Definitely not. But I'm happy they did make one.
They gave it a decent burial.
Exactly. They said, "Oh my God, we can't end that like that. We have to do another one." But here's the thing: like that film was very much like the novels that came out, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago, in sort of the mid 90s. They were a little more fantastical. So this film fits right in.
I seem to think that there may even have been a video game franchise that was maybe the predicate of this whole Archimedes thread.
Wasn't it called Monkey Island?
I don't remember.
What wasn't the video game called Monkey Island?
No. I think you're talking about the fate of the.
Or
Fate of Atlantis or something.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But there have been several video games in there. But at the end of the day, I gotta say that I don't want to spoil it because Alan hasn't seen it yet. I do recommend seeing it in the theater. It is totally worth it. But the I just it was enjoyable, but my expectations were really low anyway. So if you haven't seen it and you like Indiana Jones, go see the damn film because it was worth seeing it in the theater. I have to say that in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, I've become more of a we should see more things on the big screen, because as much as I like to watch stuff at home, I find myself watching more things that are not necessarily that are not big screen worthy.
Yes.
There's tons of films that I'm very happy to watch on the small screen. However, I would love to see things like Kentucky Fried Movie and Hot Dog the movie, or whatever the hell it was called. I'd love to see Airplane on the big screen, stuff like that. Sorry?
Who is anybody doing rep cinema in Vancouver these days? Like, what is it? The Broadway is
Indiana Jones and the Insufferable Feminist. Sorry, you're saying on Broadway. You're talking about the Rio.
The Rio, yeah. So are they doing rep cinema?
They're doing Well, I haven't, to be honest, I haven't looked for a little while. They've been doing a lot of older stuff. Like I missed Jaws not too long ago.
Okay, cool.
But
I'm
last
glad
night,
somebody's doing it.
oh yeah, they totally are. They have the full support of all of their whoever owns it now. I gather the society that actually runs the theater actually owns the building as well.
Nice.
So they have no fear of being shut down. And they've done fundraisers over the past 5-6 years for like fixing the building up and stuff like that. Although I also will point out that last night I went to The Force Awakens, the episode 7 that came out in 2015, but it was with the VSO. So the VSO was playing the music from the soundtrack during the film. So I had never been to one of those before. I highly recommend it.
So you were watching the movie and the symphony was playing.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. I thought
So
it was
you're like,
sort of like just a symphony playing, and that was it.
No. You'd actually watch the film, and they
That's
play
cool.
the soundtrack.
Cool.
I've always wanted to go to one, and luckily this one came along. And I got to say, it was kind of cool because the film is actually the entire event is about 4 hours because there is an intermission. Yeah, it was fascinating to see that almost 10 years later. I can't believe I'm saying that, but that film came out like 9 years ago, and 8 years ago. So seeing it on the big screen again with this army of people on stage playing it. There's a conductor who I believe the conductor's imported. He actually travels with the show, does a bunch of rehearsals with whatever symphony he's working with, and then they do about, I think he said they do about 3 or 4 shows depending on where they are. And that I saw the last show, and it was fascinating just to be able to because as he's conducting, he's pointing out what's playing, like what kind of music is going on. Like it's like he's not talking, he's just gesturing, so you're kind of getting an idea of what's going on the stage. So it was interesting, it was fascinating, I loved it. And A New Hope, I think, is later this year. So I'm probably going to go to that. Home Alone every year, I gather. I had no idea. And Jurassic Park is also coming up at some point. So
that's really cool.
And basically, they did acknowledge that this is basically a cash cow for the symphony in general, because a lot of people don't go to the symphony. Their audiences tend to be fairly small, like their audience base, and kind of like the ballet and Ballet BC. A number of years ago, they started doing very did the peanut gallery, sorry, I gotta post this here, did the peanut gallery like the VSO show? She did, if not from a film standpoint, from a wow, this is very cool, how do they do this. She was very interested on how the production part went on, but yeah, it's kind of interesting that they are using these sorts of performances to act as kind of a gateway for other people to actually discover the symphony. Because we were having a long conversation during the intermission, and the one thing that I'm very quite convinced in my own mind that 50 years from now, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, the classical music will be stuff that you and I and all of us are watching scores from films from, say, I don't know, 1960s onward kind of thing.
John Williams would be spoken in the same breath as like Mozart and Beethoven.
Exactly. So
rightly so. Yeah.
And because and this is the thing that and I read this years ago about composers of the time, like the ones that we all consider to be classical composers. They weren't just sitting around writing stuff for the sake of doing it, not doing it for the art. They were very good at it, but you need to feed yourself. So a lot of them, it became their career, and a lot of the music that they composed was for other people. There were of course some that were in there going, "I'm going to create the greatest whatever of all time," but the majority of the work that they did was commissions from other people, because they said, "Oh, movie music is not the same." I'm like, "Yeah, it totally is. They're being commissioned by a production company to write the music, or whatever." But the same thing happened, 400 or 500 years ago, and when the classical music was being created. So, so I think that the Hans Zimmers and the Silvestri, like all these, Back to the Future will be an overture, that'll be used for whatever, 200 years from now, and we'll be like, long dead and buried. But these, they'll be like, so what was this? It was a movie about what? What's a movie? I suspect that movies will, probably evolve, and it'll all be VR or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
Or we'll all jack in and that'll
eyes? That's like using a baby's toy.
The most advanced, painting in terms of technique, in terms of illusionistic ability, and needing to deliver, something that's a sufficiently convincing illusion that it tricks the eye. That level of demand out of painting, that still goes on. It goes on for matte painters in cinema.
Yes, so, actually, it's funny you say that, because I was just watching what do they call Hollywood Prop Store out of the UK just had at the end of June, like the last few days of June, had a big auction. And one of the pieces that was auctioned was one of the end caps for the Death Star trench from the original A New Hope. And essentially what it was is when they were filming it, they built these large elaborate models to shoot their, run their cameras through and stuff. But the end caps were these, forced perspective kind of things that were not that detailed. But were created by like some of the coolest matte painters out there. And not to mention one of the last matte paintings, not the last, or sort of, I'm sure there's some still out there that are not digital, but one of the sort of guys who'd been doing it for a very long time for films for ages, had done one for the film Independence Day. So the matte painting was the Jeff Goldblum and the whatever other characters are with that actor were flying a ship into a stolen enemy or alien spacecraft into the hangar bay of the big spaceship.
Yeah,
and that was a matte painting, which that was 1994.
Yeah, I think so.
I think. And apparently it was around 1995 where a lot of the digital stuff started to really kick off for backgrounds anyway, because you didn't really have to be that detailed. They could be blurred or they could be whatever, right? So it kind of made me sad that art form of painting on glass is kind of dead, which is really unfortunate. It's all gone digital. Understandably, a lot of painters who worked in oils and stuff have gone on to start doing stuff in digital formats and whatnot. But you kind of hope that they still are with a brush in hand, kind of thing. I think. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think most would do that just to, just because it's fun, like it's a pleasure to work with real media as opposed to stuff digitally. In a professional environment, digital can be good on the workflow, but that said, I think that something be a little bit dull about that job if the only thing you got to do is do it digitally.
Well, it's
You know,
interesting that you remember when the Lord of the Rings films came out and they had those box sets that had 19,000 hours of behind the scenes stuff.
I do.
And there was that one artist who's quite famous. He's been doing this kind of work forever of practical painting and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And he actually was so resistant to put down his real airbrush that whole production actually created an entirely new technology that hadn't existed to that point, where they had a digital airbrush, where it was an actual physical rig, and they would stare at the screen and they would do the thing with the screen. So, there's all those kinds of things that are, that sort of evolution of it was cool to see it actually happening in a contemporary context, 20 years ago. But the technology, of course, has probably gone completely bonkers. But yeah, I mean, it was them having conversations and these discussions and him being like, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't know anything about computers. Like, this is my thing. And they were like, if we build you something that can track on a screen that feels like you were actually airbrushing with real paint, would that work? And he was like, well, I'll give it a try. And he eventually sort of migrated over to doing that for the production of his films. I'm sure he probably didn't give up his airbrush anytime soon. But it kind of makes me sad because these are arts that are going away, I think, to a certain degree. And it's kind of sad to have people discover them now. They've been doing digital whatevers forever, and they don't. I don't know. It's like, oh, I found you could actually do it with real paint, and that kind of makes me sad that's sort of a thing. But maybe I'm just nostalgic or stupid.
No, I think you're right. I think these things are cyclical. It's going to come back at some point, and some people are going to be like, oh, how did they do this back then? And there's going to be all this knowledge that's going to be lost, and it's almost like we're going to have to reinvent the wheel at some point.
Well, no, you're just going to look it up on YouTube.
Speaking of YouTube, actually not YouTube, but large tech companies, have you been following along on the threads that has been released by Facebook?
Yeah.
I am aware of it. I'm choosing.
It's like watching the two most irritating school bullies kick each other in the nuts. It's fucking great.
Almost literally. I mean, aren't they like training to like meet in the ring somewhere?
Oh, are they?
Really? That would be cool. What?
I think they actually are. They're training right now. They're actually going to face off physically.
I need to look this up.
I'm kind of surprised you haven't heard about this.
I have not been paying attention to I signed up for threads because I want to. The Musk-Zuck cage match that's actually going to happen?
Yeah.
What? Okay.
Well, I know that.
Okay. Hold on. We've got a moment here.
Okay, it looks like it's actually
cool if they bump each other off at the same time.
Wasn't there a boxing film where like two boxers hit each other so hard at the same time they both died?
Yeah.
Well, because I know that Musk is threatening to sue Facebook because that he's a twerp. But I want to know if they're actually.
So this cage match, I mean, it ain't gonna happen. I mean, no way. But they're advertising it like it is.
Well, here's the thing.
That seems to be the flavor, right? Because apparently Zuckerberg is like heavy into grappling, like the jiu-jitsu sort of martial art thing. And I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so there you go. I want it to happen. I want this to occur.
Here's the thing. They probably want you to want it to happen too.
Oh yeah, how much money could they make? A lot.
Oh.
I mean, there's a lot of those YouTubers that have had boxing matches, and they love that kind of stuff. You're right, because they want it to make them make the money. But Alan, you're distracted. What's going on?
Oh, nothing. Somebody just walked into my periphery. And...
Tell them to go away.
Let's just in terms of like what is really the what is Twitter or Threads or Facebook? What really at base are these really just listservs?
I would not classify them.
Anything. How copyrightable is any?
Oh no,
really?
The lawsuit is about the fact that intellectual property has been violated. Because
didn't he say? I'm pretty sure he cited trade secrets, didn't he?
Yeah, because he's accusing them of using Twitter employees to build this product.
The Twitter employees that he fired.
Exactly. So,
but is he asserting that he didn't use any Facebook employees when he started Twitter?
That's a very good question.
I don't know,
but
it's
dumb.
I'd like to know
where I don't care. Like, seriously, this is between them.
Yeah,
I hate
it's
Twitter
fair.
as a platform. I've always hated Twitter as a platform. I haven't checked out Threads. I'm sure I'd hate it too. So I don't really give a shit. Honestly, let them beat each other's brains out if that's what it comes to. I could care less about the rest, or I couldn't care less about the rest. Let's say that.
That is,
I'm pretty much done with the drama that surrounds social media in general.
I
in mind that we broadcast this using social media platforms, but still,
we do.
Well, we kind of do.
When did that start? By the way, we're broadcasting on YouTube, Facebook page live, as well as Twitter live, as well as I think we're still on Twitch as well.
Yeah,
I haven't looked. I know it's live, but I don't know. But yeah, I mean, there's all of these drama points and all this stuff about like right now. The big argument for the past couple of weeks has been the federal government, the heritage minister, wants Facebook and Google to basically pay a link tax. Any information that's shared on these social media platforms or in Google searches, the Canadian government wants them to pay the government money for that privilege. So it's happened in Australia. Like basically, they're like, it's an attempt to bring revenue from Google. So Google dominates the world in terms of advertisement sales and whatnot. Facebook is very similar. A lot of the platforms do the same thing, but the Canadian government wants them to be like, people are always looking at you and they're getting their news from there. And then the links they click on go to the different publishers in Canada. So therefore, you must pay us because they can't compete against your behemoth engine. Which is true, but that's kind of how the internet works. There are there's a lot smaller advertisement organizations that do very similar work as Google. Probably most people have never heard of them, but essentially it's ill-advised because now, of course, Google and Facebook are saying, well, we don't want to pay the way that you've outlined your bill. So therefore, we are now going to sit back and remove all of your Canadian content from our engines, from their systems. So if you search for news on Google News or on Google Search, and you're looking for a CBC article or an article from the Globe and Mail or whatever, or any publisher from the sort of the bigger ones down to the small ones, will no longer appear. They'll be gone. So in terms of Facebook, yeah, I don't really care. In terms of a search engine, that's going to hurt the publishers more than anybody else. And you're right, Julian, Twitter is rubbish. So why do you tweet on it so much? So yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that we could whinge about in terms of that stuff going on. But I think that the Heritage Ministry is going to hurt publishers more than defend them right now, because they're playing really. They're trying to bully.
Well, they have no skin in the game. Who do they get paid? Who do they get paid by?
Well, exactly. I mean, that's the thing, right? So,
if they're right or they're wrong, do they still get paid? Yeah, they still get paid, don't they?
Oh, of course they do. But
it's not their ass on the line.
Exactly. But, I do a lot of work for small publishers. We're talking like 50, 60,000 circulation kind of thing throughout the country. So they're really small potatoes compared to, larger companies. And including all the really small publishers that we do work with that are like, online only or have a very small circulation, because a lot of them are having troubles printing because paper is so expensive now due to the pandemic switch to everyone gets delivery at home. So what happens to that? Cardboard gets made. And paper for other things like magazines goes boom. Like we're talking like 1,000% price increases. Yeah. So these small publishers that are struggling already just to get their thing out the door are kind of looking at the Heritage Ministry going, we had a deal with Google that they paid us X number of dollars per month to help us out. And now we've got emails coming in that they're like, you know what? That deal's off the table because your government's doing it. So, yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that because the rhetoric and the sort of the presentational way that the minister at the Heritage does it is just he's kind of a dick. It's like, oh, I'm doing this because I'm protecting people, but fuck Google. It's like, did Google like make you mad somewhere? Like, has somebody put nude photos of your family online or something? Like, it just there's something else going on that I'm not quite understanding.
Yeah, well, the level of politicization that's going on just everywhere right now is, as usual, toxic and unprecedented. And unprecedented in its toxicity. It's fucking mad that, like, you got libertarians who think they're victims burning the shit out of their truck and letting it run down the middle of the road while they're carrying a styrofoam machine gun and, waving their fist in the air. And they think they're doing good in the world. They're out making a difference. And then you get your, Brazil. Is he Brazilian or Colombian? I think he's Brazilian academic, stating that, well, the housing crisis was manufactured. Actually, there's no crisis. This is exactly the system is supposed to work because you're all oppressed and the landlords need to pay and you should have a tenant revolt and, revolution now. Christ. Like, the level of idiocy that's going on out there, it's fucking through the roof.
Yeah.
This is from Julian.
I would agree with what Julian says. I think most people who are of an age where they would be involved in politics probably don't understand social media and how it works.
I would agree.
mean, that's just a guess.
Who do you think is
If we had like a government,
who do you think is involved in politics?
They'd probably be like better prepared to deal with it.
Who do you think is involved in politics?
Older people. Like
no, you see,
middle age.
That's only because you live in Victoria. It's not like that here.
Who's involved in politics there?
Oh, sadly, young people.
Oh, really?
I wish they weren't. They don't know what they're talking about. They really need to shut up. But man, no, they're well into it.
Okay. Well, I was just saying that younger people, like I'm talking like late teens, like not like 20s or 30s, late teens would be more well equipped to deal with all this legislation surrounding social media and stuff.
Probably.
Yeah.
Oh
my goodness.
I missed that one. You say?
Yeah.
Hang on, I'll bring it back. Hang on, I gotta move the logo again.
I missed it too.
Julian, the fire starter of every podcast. I've totally forgotten what the hell I was gonna say, but there you go.
Well,
overall, I like the beer.
Yeah, same. And Julian likes his tonic water.
I am actually enjoying this this tonic water. This is refreshing and.
All right.
I'm not.
I kind of feel like I need to drink some tonic water now.
I can do with that. Thanks.
It is bloody hot here too. That's the other thing.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say you guys are going through a heat wave. We're here. It was overcast and rainy-ish kind of this morning.
Really?
And the sun finally came out, but it was a bit later in the day. Although my air conditioner died after serving me well since 2008 last week. I turned it on after having it, I turned it on like a couple of weeks before. It was working fine. I turned it on this time and it made a really horrible noise and then blew the circuit. So I thought the pump must have just finally decided to give it up, because I talked to the manufacturer last year. They said it's still working. It was supposed to last like maybe 5 years. I'm like, nope, this has been going strong since 2008. So I had to buy a new one just recently. So I recommend you guys pick one up now before it really gets going. Oh, no. Sorry. Julian's putting us on the spot, boys. What are the Crafty boys doing about diversity and reconciliation and woke attitudes generally? Locke, the floor is yours.
I got nothing.
This is what happens when he's drinking tonic water.
Well, I plan to hire Julian and put him in a dress with a blonde wig to be my maid. This is my big plan.
Cool. Hey, I'm on board with that. I'm really on board with it. I think it's something that we should always endeavor to hire the elderly population. Because Julian is how old now? He's got to be at least 78.
You know what? I think what we could do is we can set him up with like a dress and all that kind of stuff, and we'll send him out in the neighborhood with some Bud Lights and try and sell those.
Okay, I'm game for that. Let's work on that. On that note,
Back to reconnect.
We'll
I think everything's going to shit here. So.
I don't know what the hell just happened.
He said,
"Oh
he has
no,
to log in, but...
Julian is drinking Bud Light."
Yeah,
he's back. Hold on. Oh no, he's not. I have no idea what the hell just happened. On that note, let's go drink some Bud Light and No, I didn't locks. I don't know how to go lock there. His computer just gave up the ghost somehow. Anyway, yeah, we'll talk to you guys later. See you next week.
All right.
Don't forget 7:00 Fridays where we'll drink beer, and talk about stuff. Join in, drink some more beer, get I don't know, drugs. Apparently, help me, Alan! Help me!